War broke every rule, until the alien princess broke them first. Each civilization had its own laws, and the wars fought between them followed a structure, a rhythm that commanders and soldiers alike had learned to respect. But for the humans and their allies, and especially for one alien princess, those rules were about to be rewritten. Princess Liara of the Virelian Empire had grown up with the stories of her ancestors, bravery and wisdom. She was small in stature compared to other members of her royal family, with pale blue skin and eyes that reflected the stars themselves. Her people often whispered that she would never lead in war, that her soft voice and careful manner were suited only to diplomacy. But Liara had something they could not see, a mind that could think faster than any strategist, and a heart brave enough to face the impossible. The warning arrived on a silver-framed hollow from the frontier of Virelian space. The message was urgent, a single word repeated 3 times. Incoming, fleet, chaos. Liara's personal guard stood behind her, rigid and tense, but she did not flinch. "What is it?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "Unknown warships, Your Highness," replied Commander Thaler, his mechanical arm tapping on the console. "They are breaking through the outer defense lines. Our patrols report heavy losses." This is unlike anything we have seen before. They do not follow any known military codes. Liara studied the projection, watching as hundreds of unidentified ships carved a path of destruction through her people's defenses. She could see the fear in the eyes of those around her, the panic in the voices of the command center, and yet she remained steady. "They will expect hesitation," she said quietly, "but hesitation is a luxury we cannot afford. Prepare the fleet." "I will lead the strike personally." The room froze. "Your Highness, it is unprecedented." "I am not a child to be kept safe," she interrupted. "The people need leadership, not protection. They need someone who acts when others freeze." Her guards and commanders exchanged uneasy glances, but none dared argue further. Liara turned and walked to the tactical deck, her robes flowing like a river of silver. Every step she took seemed to carry a purpose beyond herself. Within hours, the Virelian fleet was assembled, a glittering array of ships larger and faster than anything the invaders had expected. Liara's command vessel, the Astral Phoenix, led the formation. Unlike other leaders who might have stayed behind the lines, she stood on the bridge, observing the battle with keen eyes and calculating mind. The enemy did not fight like any army Liara had known. Their attacks were unpredictable, often violating the oldest and strictest rules of engagement. Civilian ships were targeted without warning, supply lines were struck before reinforcements could arrive, and traditional defensive maneuvers seemed useless. Yet Liara saw a pattern in the chaos. Every assault had a rhythm, a hidden order beneath the apparent lawlessness. She issued orders with precision. "Left flank, engage interceptors and draw them away. Core ships, follow my lead. No hesitation. Fire only when necessary, but do not hold back when opportunity strikes." Her fleet moved as one, responding not just to her commands but to the silent confidence she radiated. The Virelian pilots felt a spark of courage, a new energy that came from knowing their princess was not afraid to stand with them in the face of annihilation. Hours passed in a blur of light and sound. Ships collided in brilliant explosions, laser fire cutting through the void like silver ribbons. Every time the enemy seemed to gain an advantage, Liara anticipated their next move, adjusting her fleet with a grace that was both fluid and terrifying. Then the invaders revealed their secret weapon, a massive ship unlike any in the known galaxy, its hull black as void and humming with unknown energy. It moved with a speed and precision that defied physics, striking multiple Virelian ships at once and absorbing their attacks without sustaining damage. "This is their command ship," Thaler said, awe and fear in his voice. "If we take it down, the rest may retreat." Liara's lips pressed into a thin line. "And if we fail?" she asked softly, not to Thaler but to herself. Then our people pay the price for hesitation, and I will not allow that. She adjusted her tactical interface, plotting a course that no standard manual would suggest. She was about to do what no other commander in history had dared, break the traditional rules of war entirely. Prepare for a direct strike, she ordered. All units focus on the enemy core ship. Use coordinated fire patterns I am initiating. Timing must be perfect. Trust me. The bridge erupted into activity. Lights flashed, engines roared, and pilots followed her commands as though guided by a single mind. The astral phoenix surged forward, weaving between enemy fire and debris with unmatched agility. Liara's hands moved over the controls, not out of necessity but to connect her will with the fleet's motion. The battle raged, each second stretching into eternity. Virelian ships fell, and yet the tide began to turn. Liara's unconventional strategy forced the enemy to split their focus, creating openings no one had dared hope for. Finally, the moment came. Liara saw a narrow gap in the black hull of the command ship, a single point where all the energy converged. Now, she shouted, her voice carrying across the bridge with authority and clarity. The fleet unleashed a torrent of fire. Explosions rippled across the enemy ship, and for the first time the invaders wavered. Liara did not wait. She pushed the astral phoenix forward, weaving through the chaos, dodging debris and plasma blasts. With precision and courage, she delivered the final strike. The black command ship erupted in light, fragments scattering across space. The enemy fleet faltered. Ships turned, retreated, and disappeared into the void from which they came. Silence followed, but it was not peaceful. It was the silence of a battle fought to the limits, of lives lost and courage tested. On the bridge, Liara stood alone, watching the remains of the battle drift away. Her hands were steady, her eyes sharp, but she felt the weight of what she had done. She had broken every rule, risked everything, and yet saved countless lives. The cost was high, but the victory was undeniable. Thaler stepped forward, awe in his gaze. "Your Highness, that was unprecedented. You led the fleet like no one has ever done before." Liara did not smile. "Leadership is not about following rules," she said softly. "It is about knowing when to bend them, when to break them, and when to trust those who follow you. Today, we survived because we acted, not because we waited for permission." Her words hung in the air, resonating with every officer and soldier who heard them. For the first time in centuries, the Virelian Empire understood that leadership could come from courage, intelligence, and the willingness to defy expectations. As the fleet regrouped, Liara looked toward the stars, knowing this victory was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, the true force behind the invasion waited. And when it returned, the galaxy would witness a new kind of power, one that could not be measured by rules or treaties. She was ready. And the galaxy would soon learn that war had changed forever. The stars were quiet now, but the quiet was deceptive. Princess Liara knew that the retreat of the enemy fleet did not mean the end of the threat. It only meant they were regrouping, gathering strength for a strike more devastating than the one they had just endured. Her mind raced as she reviewed the reports streaming in from her sensors and scouts. "Your Highness," Thaler said, stepping up beside her on the bridge of the Astral Phoenix, "the enemy ships that escaped were unlike any we have seen. Their technology, it adapts. Every attack we launch is studied and countered almost instantly." Liara did not turn from the view screen. "Then we will adapt faster. We have survived once by defying convention. We will survive again by doing the same." Her voice was calm, but there was a fire in her eyes that inspired all who saw it. "Should we call the council?" Thaler asked. "They may have ideas." "They may," she replied, "but councils are slow. We do not have time for slow." She pressed a hand to the console and brought up a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Tiny red dots moved along paths of destruction, while her own fleet's positions glowed in bright blue. She studied the enemy movements, looking for patterns, for weaknesses, for anything that would give them an edge. "Liara," another officer said hesitantly, "our supply lines are weakened. If we launch another offensive too soon, we risk losing more than we gain." She nodded. "I know. That is why we will not attack recklessly, but we will not sit and wait either. Hesitation kills faster than enemy fire. Prepare a strike team." A strike team was assembled quickly. The best pilots, the most skilled tacticians, the bravest soldiers, all chosen not because of rank but because of skill and courage. They were a mix of Virelian and human volunteers, a combination that represented the new alliance forming in the galaxy. Liara personally addressed them before departure. "You will enter territory where no one dares. The enemy expects us to hide, to retreat, to follow old rules. We will do none of these. You will act with intelligence, courage, and precision. We fight not because we enjoy war, but because we protect our people. Let that guide you." The strike team launched, sleek vessels cutting through space like silver arrows. Liara watched them go, her mind calculating every possible outcome. She could not be with them directly. The enemy still held many forces too dangerous to confront without overwhelming preparation. But she would guide them from afar, using every tool and sensor at her disposal. Hours passed. Liara monitored the team's progress closely, issuing minor course adjustments, providing targeting solutions, and warning of enemy ambushes. They moved through the enemy's territory with skill and courage, but the foe was clever, constantly shifting formations, hiding weapons, and setting traps. "Your Highness," Thaler said after a tense hour, "they are moving into a trap. Our strike team may be walking into a kill zone." Liara's lips pressed together. She had anticipated this possibility. "Then we adjust, divert the team to the secondary route, use the asteroid belt as cover. They will expect the direct path. We give them the unexpected." The plan worked. As the strike team navigated through the asteroid field, enemy ships tried to follow, but the terrain was treacherous. Several were damaged by collisions with debris, and the rest were delayed, giving the Virelian human alliance the opening they needed. Through the chaos, Liara noticed something else, a signal faint but unmistakable. It was not from the fleet. It was a single point of energy moving toward the edge of the galaxy. Its movement was purposeful, intelligent, and faster than any known craft. "What is that?" Thaler asked, eyes wide. "I do not know yet," Liara admitted. "But it is not part of the fleet we just fought. This could be their commander or something far more dangerous. Track it." The team completed their objective, striking at a hidden supply hub the enemy used to reinforce their forces. Explosions lit the void, ships scattered, and the balance of power shifted slightly. They had succeeded, but the sense of victory was tempered by the knowledge that the mysterious energy signal was moving closer. When the strike team returned to the fleet, Liara met them personally. She congratulated each pilot and soldier, not with formal words but with genuine recognition of their courage. "You did not follow rules," she told them. "You acted with intelligence and heart. That is what makes us strong. That is what keeps us alive." But there was no celebration. The signal they had tracked continued its silent approach, a constant reminder that the enemy's true strength was yet unseen. Liara gathered her top strategists, human and Virelian alike, and began planning. "The enemy's strategy is unlike anything recorded," she said. "They attack without warning, hide without reason, and adapt faster than we can predict. To confront them, we must abandon everything we think we know about war." "Abandon the rules?" Thaler asked, concerned. "Yes," Liara replied firmly. "The rules are not sacred, they are tools, and right now using them as sacred laws will destroy us. We will fight differently, think differently, act differently. And we will win because we are human and Virelian, because we adapt. Because we endure." Night came in the viewports of the astral phoenix, though there was no true night in space. Stars stretched endlessly, a silent witness to the preparations underway. Liara could feel the tension in the fleet. Pilots, soldiers, engineers, and medics all knew the danger ahead, yet they looked to her for guidance. She walked through the corridors of her ship, visiting each section, speaking to her people. "Courage is not the absence of fear," she said to a young pilot. "It is acting in spite of it." She stopped before the medbay, watching the doctors and nurses readying supplies. "We fight to protect life," she reminded them. "Every life saved is a victory." By the time she returned to the bridge, the fleet was ready. Every ship, every pilot, every weapon was positioned. They waited for her signal, trusting her judgment completely. The signal they had been tracking suddenly accelerated, moving straight for the fleet. It was unlike anything Liara had ever seen. A vessel of pure energy, shifting shapes and colors, almost alive. Its speed was unmatched, and it seemed to respond to the fleet's movements as if anticipating them. "Enemy flagship?" Thaler asked, tension tightening his voice. "Perhaps," Liara said, eyes fixed on the glowing craft. "Perhaps something worse, but we will face it, we must." She activated the fleet's main weapons, energy shields flaring to full capacity. Ships assumed formation, following maneuvers designed by Liara herself, maneuvers that defied centuries of conventional strategy. The energy craft arrived, striking the front line with an intensity that shook the fleet. Ships rocked, alarms blared, and Liara remained steady, issuing commands with calm precision. "Do not retreat. Do not hesitate. Target weak points. Adapt." The fleet responded, moving as a single entity, guided by her confidence. They dodged, countered, and struck in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were orchestrated with the precision of a master strategist. The battle lasted for hours. Each second tested endurance, each maneuver demanded focus, and each decision carried consequences that could decide the fate of entire systems. Liara's mind was a storm of calculations and instincts, yet she maintained clarity. Finally, a breakthrough. The energy craft faltered for a brief moment, revealing its core. "Now!" she shouted. The fleet unleashed a concentrated attack. Energy beams struck with perfect timing, shields overloaded, and the craft exploded in a burst of light that illuminated the void like a miniature sun. Silence followed once again, but this time it was different. Relief mixed with exhaustion, pride mixed with fear, and Liara knew that this was only the first of many battles to come. As she surveyed the fleet, Liara's eyes fell on the horizon. More enemy forces remained out there, hidden in shadows, waiting. But she had proved something, that human courage and alien ingenuity combined could defy the impossible, and that lesson would guide them in the trials yet to come. "Prepare the fleet for repairs and reorganization," she ordered. "We have survived today, but the war is far from over. Rest, recover, and remain ready. We will not be caught unprepared again." Her voice carried through the bridge, steady and commanding. Her people listened, inspired not by her royal title but by her actions, her courage, and her unwavering resolve. Liara had become more than a princess. She had become a symbol, a beacon of hope in a galaxy where the rules of war no longer applied, and where only those willing to act, to adapt, and to lead could survive. She turned to the stars again, her mind already racing ahead. The enemy had revealed a new power, one that would challenge them in ways they could not yet imagine. But Liara did not doubt herself or her people. They would face it together with intelligence, courage, and heart. They would prevail. And the galaxy would see that the rules of war could be broken, and that a princess could lead where others would falter. The galaxy did not rest, and neither could Princess Liara. The energy signature that had attacked their fleet had vanished after its last destruction, leaving only fragments of alien technology scattered across space. But she knew it was only a temporary reprieve. Something far greater, something intelligent and relentless, had been awakened. On the bridge of the astral phoenix, Liara examined the reports coming in from deep space probes and sensor satellites. The enemy fleet was retreating, but in a calculated, almost disciplined manner. Every ship that had survived the previous attacks moved in patterns that suggested preparation, not panic. The command crew was tense, eyes darting between projections and data streams, trying to anticipate what was coming next. Thaler broke the silence. "Your Highness, the fleet is regrouping near the Viorlian border, but their numbers are increasing. They are pulling reinforcements from systems we thought were neutral." Liara did not flinch. "Then we must act before they strike again. They assume we will wait, as all leaders do. They assume we will follow protocol, but we are not bound by protocol." "Are you certain we should strike now?" one officer asked nervously. "Our fleet needs repairs, and the enemy is waiting," Liara interrupted. "And they will not hesitate. We strike because we must, not because it is convenient. We strike because waiting will cost us everything." The decision was made. A daring plan emerged. A preemptive strike into enemy space, targeting their forward bases and supply hubs before reinforcements could arrive. Liara had studied every map, every report, and every possible outcome. She had calculated risks that would make most commanders tremble. Yet her confidence inspired her crew. The fleet moved quietly, stealth modules activated to mask their approach. Ships glided through the dark of space, dodging patrols and sensor arrays as the fleet pressed toward the first enemy base. Liara coordinated each step, anticipating ambushes and countermoves, teaching her officers to think beyond the obvious. "Your Highness," Thaler said, pointing at a display, "they have detection drones in orbit. We cannot move without being seen." Liara's eyes narrowed. "Then we move differently. Split the fleet. One decoy, one main force. Draw them into believing the attack comes from one direction. The other direction will strike where they are weakest." The officers murmured in agreement, impressed by the strategy. Liara's mind worked like a chessboard, calculating positions, velocities, and outcomes with precision. She issued orders calmly, each command carrying clarity and purpose. As the fleet split, the enemy reacted exactly as she predicted. Ships turned, weapons aimed at the decoy fleet, and Liara's main force slipped past defenses, entering the heart of the enemy territory. The first strike was swift. Supply stations exploded in brilliant bursts of light, fuel and ammunition depots igniting in a chain reaction. Enemy ships attempted to retaliate, but the Viorlian human alliance moved with coordination that seemed impossible, guided by Liara's careful timing and ingenuity. Amidst the chaos, Liara noticed something alarming. A vessel larger than any seen before emerged from behind a gas giant, cloaked in shadows, moving with deliberate precision. Its size dwarfed even the largest ships in her fleet. And unlike the other vessels, it emitted no signals, no energy signatures, nothing that their sensors could measure. "Commander Thaler," Liara said, her voice tight, "identify that ship. Now." Thaler's eyes widened as data streamed across the displays. "Your Highness, I cannot. Its technology is advanced beyond anything we've encountered. It's almost alive." Liara's gaze remained fixed on the unknown vessel. She had faced impossible odds before, yet this was different. This was not a fleet of ships reacting to rules and tactics. This was something intelligent, something that could predict, adapt, and respond in ways that challenged even her. "Prepare the fleet for engagement," she ordered, "but do not fire unless necessary. I want to understand it first." The alien vessel moved closer, observing the Viorlian fleet, as if it were studying them. Its surface shimmered with patterns of light, and for a moment, Liara thought she could almost see a consciousness behind it. The fleet's sensors failed to detect weapons or propulsion systems, yet every officer felt a quiet tension, a sense that danger was imminent. Suddenly, the unknown vessel shifted. A pulse of energy radiated outward, not aimed at ships but through space itself. Systems flickered, sensors went offline, and communication stuttered. The fleet's formation wavered, ships drifting in response to the invisible force. "This is unlike anything we've faced," Thaler said, voice tense. "It's manipulating space itself." Liara took a deep breath. "Then we fight differently. Adapt, move, react. Do not follow rules. Survival is the only strategy now." She coordinated a series of maneuvers that seemed impossible. Ships twisted through the void, energy shields flaring in patterns that mirrored the unknown vessel's movements, dodging pulses of power that threatened to tear them apart. Liara's mind moved faster than any sensor, anticipating the vessel's next action and guiding the fleet accordingly. Hours passed in a tense standoff. No shots were fired, yet every ship was on the edge of destruction. Liara realized something crucial. This vessel was testing them, measuring their ability to adapt, to think beyond instinct and protocol. "I understand now," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "It's learning from us. It's not mindless destruction. It's intelligence, and it respects strength." Thaler looked confused. "Respects strength?" "Yes," Liara replied. "It is judging us. We must show it that we can think, that we can act, that we are worthy of survival, and when it sees that, we can negotiate, or we can win." The fleet continued to maneuver, responding to invisible threats, adapting to pulses of energy, and surviving where any other fleet would have perished. Liara's confidence radiated through the command structure. Officers began issuing independent commands within her strategy, pilots adjusting formations instinctively, all guided by the unspoken trust in their princess. Finally, a change occurred. The alien vessel paused. Its pulses ceased. It hovered silently, as if considering them. Liara held her breath, knowing that this moment could determine the fate of the galaxy. Then slowly, the vessel withdrew. Not in retreat, not in surrender, but in observation. It vanished beyond the horizon of distant stars, leaving only questions and awe in its wake. Liara exhaled, her body trembling slightly. She had faced an intelligence beyond anything her people had known and survived. She had led her fleet not by following rules, but by breaking them, by adapting, and by inspiring courage in every ship, every pilot, and every soldier. "Your Highness," Thaler said softly, "you have done something remarkable, not just for the fleet but for all of Virelian space. You've proven we can face the impossible and survive." Liara nodded, but her mind was already moving forward. This encounter had taught her that the enemy was not just a fleet. It was a force, intelligent, adaptive, and patient. The war they were in was not conventional. It would test every skill, every decision, and every ounce of courage her people possessed. "Prepare for immediate reconnaissance," she ordered. "We will track that vessel, understand it, and be ready for whatever comes next. We cannot assume it will leave us alone for long." As the fleet set about repairs and recovery, Liara walked through the corridors of the Astral Phoenix, visiting her crew. She did not speak of fear or danger. She spoke of courage, of adaptation, and of the strength that came from acting together. Later, in the quiet of her private chamber, Liara gazed at the stars. The encounter had been a test, and she had passed. But the war was far from over. She knew now that the enemy's true power was yet unseen, hidden in the void, waiting for the right moment to strike. Yet she felt no despair. The Virelian human alliance had survived impossible odds before, and they would survive again. Because they were not bound by rules that no longer applied. Because they had courage, intelligence, and unity. Because they had her. And Princess Liara, for the first time in her life, understood the full meaning of her role, not just as a princess, but as a leader who could guide her people through chaos, who could break the rules of war and still emerge victorious. She did not yet know what the alien vessel's intentions were, but she was ready to meet them. Whatever came next, Liara would face it not as a princess sheltered in her palace, but as a warrior, a strategist, and a protector of the galaxy. The stars were endless, the unknown vast, and the challenge immense. But Princess Liara had learned a lesson no rule could teach, that courage, intelligence, and heart could bend the universe itself. And with that lesson, she would lead her people through the darkness, toward a future defined not by fear, but by the unbreakable spirit of those who dared to act when others hesitated. The galaxy held its breath. Princess Liara stood on the bridge of the astral phoenix, gazing into the dark expanse where countless stars glimmered, each one a silent witness to the storm that was about to descend. The alien fleet, the one that had tested them with its intelligence and relentless adaptability, was returning. It came not as a scattered force, but as a calculated wave, organized in formations that no conventional tactics could challenge. Liara's crew waited, tense and alert. Every officer, every pilot, every soldier trusted her decisions implicitly, for she had proven herself time and again. But this battle was different. This was the culmination of everything they had survived, everything they had learned, and everything they had risked. "Your Highness," Thaler said, voice tight with controlled urgency, "they are approaching at multiple vectors. Sensors indicate a level of coordination beyond anything we have encountered. They are faster, stronger, and more precise than before." Liara nodded. "Then we will respond differently. Every rule, every assumption they have will be shattered today. Prepare the fleet. Focus on adaptability, not convention. We will act where they do not expect and strike when they hesitate." She moved through the tactical interface, her fingers flying over the controls, issuing instructions with a calm clarity that contrasted the tension around her. Ships shifted in formation, energy shields flaring, engines humming in synchronized precision. Liara's mind moved faster than any system or sensor, calculating variables, predicting outcomes, and guiding her fleet through a web of possibilities. The alien force appeared first as a shimmer, then as a series of dark, angular ships, moving in eerie harmony. Each ship seemed to anticipate the Virelian human fleet's movements, adjusting instantly to every maneuver. For a moment, it seemed impossible to engage them directly. Every standard attack would fail, every defense could be breached. Liara's eyes narrowed. "Then we engage indirectly, split the fleet, use diversionary tactics, force them to adapt to us, not the other way around." "Divisions?" Thaler asked. "Against a force that reacts instantly." "Yes," Liara said firmly, "and we will make it fail. Their intelligence is remarkable, but it is limited by what they know. We will act unpredictably. Our unity, our courage, and our ability to think beyond rules, that is our advantage." The fleet moved. One division created a visible path toward the enemy, baiting them into focusing fire. The other division, under Liara's direct guidance, moved through a less obvious corridor of space, using asteroid fields and nebula clouds for cover. Energy shields flickered as beams and pulses tore through the void, but the fleet adapted, responding instantly to changes. Liara's voice rang across the command channels. "Do not panic. Trust your training, trust each other, and trust me. We strike not for glory, but to protect our people. Let that guide you." The enemy fleet reacted predictably to the bait. Ships moved to intercept, breaking formation to pursue what they assumed was the main force. And then Liara's division struck. Using energy patterns and synchronized attacks, they targeted supply hubs, propulsion systems, and command nodes. Explosions lit the void, debris scattering across the battlefield, and the alien fleet's cohesion faltered. But the true test came next. The alien vessel, the one that had appeared to be alive, emerged from the shadows. It moved with a precision that defied physics, its surface shimmering with colors and patterns that seemed almost sentient. Every pulse of energy it emitted threatened to overwhelm the fleet, and every attack was calculated to exploit the smallest weakness. Liara remained calm. "Focus on movement, not destruction. Adapt. Observe. Do not fight blindly." The fleet responded like extensions of her own mind. Ships twisted, dodged, and fired in ways that seemed chaotic but were perfectly synchronized. Liara's strategic calculations guided each pilot, each vessel, each action. Even as energy pulses tore through space, damaging shields and disabling weapons, the fleet adjusted instantly. Hours passed in a tense standoff. The alien vessel tested them, probing for weaknesses, challenging their every move. Liara realized something critical. This was not mindless aggression. The vessel was intelligent, and it was learning, just as she had learned in the earlier encounter. It was gauging their ability to survive, to adapt, and to act with courage under pressure. "Your Highness," Thaler said, his voice tight with awe, it's not attacking to kill. It's observing, learning." Liara nodded. "Exactly. Then we show it we are worthy. That intelligence alone does not command the universe. Courage, strategy, and adaptability do. We will teach it that humanity and Virelian strength are forces not to be underestimated." She issued a bold command. "All ships, converge on its left flank. Synchronize energy pulses to overload its adaptive systems. This is our only chance to force it to reveal itself fully." The fleet moved, energy shields glowing as beams of calculated fire struck the alien vessel. The pulse response of the enemy ship was immediate, energy rippling outward in waves. Ships rocked violently, alarms blaring, but the fleet held formation, guided by Liara's unshakable confidence. The vessel faltered. A core glowed, and for the first time Liara saw an opportunity. "Now!" she shouted. A concentrated strike from every ship in the fleet focused on the glowing core. Explosions ripped through the void as energy collided with energy. Light flared, illuminating the stars like a supernova, and the alien vessel shuddered under the coordinated attack. It released a pulse, not of destruction but of understanding. The patterns of light shifted, the energy settled, and the vessel slowly retreated, disappearing into the darkness of the galaxy. The fleet was silent. No cheers, no celebrations, just the steady hum of engines and the quiet realization that they had survived the impossible. Liara remained at the bridge, eyes scanning the stars, her mind already anticipating what would come next. "Your Highness," Thaler said finally, voice filled with reverence, "you've done what no commander has ever done. You've faced an intelligence beyond understanding and survived. You've led your fleet to victory when the odds were impossible." Liara turned to him, her expression calm but resolute. "Victory is temporary. Survival is fleeting. We have shown that courage, intelligence, and heart can bend even the rules of the universe. But the war is not over. We must be ready for what comes next." She addressed the fleet through the communication channels. "Today, we have faced a challenge unlike any before. We have survived not because we followed rules, but because we adapted, acted, and trusted each other. Remember this. Every life we protect, every action we take, shapes the future of our galaxy. Stand ready, stand united, and never doubt your strength." Across every ship, across every bridge, the crew listened. They had seen their princess act with courage and strategy. They had seen her break rules, defy expectations, and lead where others would hesitate. They knew that under her guidance, they could survive the impossible. Liara turned back to the stars, feeling the weight of leadership but also the thrill of possibility. The alien fleet had tested them, but it had also left them with knowledge, with lessons learned, and with a renewed understanding of their own strength. Repair crews began their work, medics attended to the injured, and engineers recalibrated systems damaged by the alien pulses. But Liara's mind never rested. She studied every sensor reading, every fragment of alien technology recovered, and every report from the fleet. She knew the enemy would return, more prepared, more intelligent, and more dangerous than before. And when it returned, she would be ready. For Liara had learned the ultimate lesson. The rules of war were not sacred. They were tools, and when the tools failed, courage, intelligence, and heart became the greatest weapons of all. She had seen it in action, guiding her fleet through destruction, through uncertainty, through the impossible. The galaxy had changed, and so had she. No longer would leaders hide behind protocol or tradition. No longer would soldiers act without thinking. No longer would the impossible seem insurmountable. Liara walked through the corridors of the Astral Phoenix, visiting every section of the ship. She spoke to engineers, pilots, and medics. She encouraged them, recognized their efforts, and reminded them that the true strength of the fleet was in unity, courage, and adaptability. Every life mattered, every action mattered, and every individual contributed to the victory of all. Finally, she returned to the bridge. The stars stretched endlessly before her, and she could feel the presence of the unknown intelligence lingering somewhere beyond the horizon. She did not fear it. She welcomed it as the next challenge, the next opportunity to test the strength of her people, her leadership, and her resolve. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, but also full of possibilities. And Princess Liara, the Viorlian leader who had broken every rule and survived, knew this. As long as courage, intelligence, and heart guided her people, no force, no matter how intelligent, adaptive, or powerful, could stand against them forever. And with that knowledge, she smiled, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that the legend of the princess who defied war's rules would echo across the stars for generations to come. War broke every rule, until the alien princess broke them first.